Welcome. Yep, looks like we're good. Welcome. UFC Qatar discussion. Tsarukyan versus Hooker. Some lightweight implications. Honestly, Tsarukyan for sure looking to get a title shot. Dan Hooker himself coming off three straight wins. Most recently against Mateusz Gamrot as well, a guy who was very heavily looked at as the next challenger as well. So this is definitely a title challenger kind of fight, I should say. In general, kind of a stacked card for UFC Cutter. One of the last cards, I think we're down to three. I think this is the third last card of the year. We have this card. I think the one after this is there's no fight on Thanksgiving weekend. And then the weekend after that is a pay per view in which Murad defends his belt, if I'm not mistaken. And then the week after that, there's one last UFC Apex. And then that's it for the year. So this is third last of 2025. And in the co-main event, Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Gary. That's pretty good. That could be a co-main event of a pay-per-view. I feel like Ian Gary trying to move his way up to being a champion. Bilal, the former champion. Wow, what a crazy good fight here for the co-main event. So before we get too far into things though for this card, let me quick recap. As we just got off of a pay-per-view, we're gonna get two pay-per-views and three cards from the UFC. And last weekend, Islam became a double champ, or I don't know. People are like getting so particular now about the terminology, two-time champion or two-division champ instead of saying double champ because technically, double champ would signify like a Conor. They're trying to basically say like Conor McGregor was two-division champ at the same time, or Henry Cejudo I think did it too, where they were like actually defending two belts at the same time. In which, in this case, Islam is only defending the lightweight belt now. But either way, those are just different random technicalities. Islam was the five weight. He got the job done. So simple as that. He was one of the heavier favorites, and he kind of just decimated JDM the whole fight. I mean, three judges calling it 50-45. Just pretty straightforward decision win there. Honestly, it's crazy how little there is to say about it because it's just basically everything you would have expected. Same with the co-main event. Valentina, Wei Lee, Valentina getting the job done by decision. Also, pretty dominantly. I have to double check the scorecards, but I want to say it was close to 50-45 all the way through. Maybe one of the judges had it 49-46. Now I'm curious and now I want to find out for sure. Yep, 50-45 is across the board for Valentina, which is rightful. It's rightful. It's how it should have been. But in any case, 3-2 won the night overall for UFC 322. The other win being Benoit Saint Denis beating, man, what a fight. Beneil Dariush not only coming in overweight and not making weight, but getting finished like that. I don't know, Jose. I was curious. Do you think Beneil Dariush might as well either just move on from the UFC, or do you think they cut him? I don't know, man. You miss weight, you're old, you're out of your prime, and you get finished like that. Like at this point, you're just like at best a gatekeeper.
Yeah, I think they'll probably keep him around just to be like a gatekeeper. The thing, yeah, like he didn't make weight, and then just to get knocked out like that, like you know what, something definitely went obviously wrong in his camp. Then that, and so maybe he didn't take it as serious, or just something went wrong. Maybe he had an injury. Not necessarily sure. Didn't hear anything about that, but I feel like the UFC would at least give him one more chance. And if he ends up losing, then yeah, like he's probably done for, and maybe he should just retire.
Yeah, I think you're right though. In the end, cutting him that fast would be a huge surprise. I think it would be the unexpected move. He's still done so much for the company. He's fought like 20 UFC fights. There's no way they cut him that easy. But he's now 1-3 in his last four fights after going on that long streak, which landed him a title shot. I'm pretty sure it was no, sorry, it was against Oliveira, in which it would have been a title shot, but Oliveira beat him and got the title shot. So either way, Beneil Dariush after that long winning streak, 1-3, looking like a down streak. Hoping not to get cut after his next fight. Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards. Boy, did he get starched by Carlos Prates. I picked Leon, and Jose. I'm not sure if you got a chance to check out my picks from last week, but I ended up picking Leon. He was my four weight too, man. What a tough four weight loss. Carlos Prates looked dominant, got knocked down. He clearly, in my opinion, I think he won round one. I'm sure that's what the judges' scorecards had. He was pretty much dicing up Leon the whole time. Leon got 2 takedowns though. So the 3 minutes of control time he had in the first round was basically the only thing he had going for him. And if Leon's only thing going for him is wrestling, not good, not good. So Leon got starched, man. Good for Protest, but dang. Protest went and celebrated in part by saying basically, "Give me a belt shot," and the broadcast was talking about like, "Oh, I don't know after what Protest just did, maybe he gets the title shot," because the whole thing was that the title shot would go to the winner of Michael Morales versus Sean Brady, and that's what Dana even said. So Michael Morales is supposed to get the next title shot, but the crew, Dana, not Dana, Joe Rogan and DC were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I don't know. Carlos Prates might get a title shot," and it's like, all right, look, Carlos Prates cool and all, but what do we mean? Clearly, Michael Morales should get a shot here. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but Carlos Prates lost to Ian Gary, dude. Come on.
Yeah, the honestly, I would love to see maybe Carlos Paz versus Michael Morales for the title, like a title eliminator, and then winner gets the title.
Oh,
Like
that's
that'd be a
bold.
fun match.
Okay. That's bold. That's bold. What do you think of this? Okay, last question on the topic before we move on. Who do you think is harder for Islam now, the champ? Who do you think poses the bigger threat? Do you think throw in Carlos Prates and just hope he lands? How crazy? Just say, how crazy would it be to watch one of those Russian dudes get put out cold? It's never happened.
Well, dude, and like the thing is, there's still a
That's
lot of
crazy.
people in front of them. Like though Carlos Paz has been on a roll, he was only like ranked number 9. Like we
Yeah.
still got Ian Gary. Like if Ian
Mm-hmm.
Gary looks really good this weekend against Bilal, he has a good argument to get a title shot. Bilal, I mean Bilal's still up there. He was champ not long ago. He's still up there too to
Yes.
title contention. And then not to forget Shavkat Rachmanov too. Like he's still like he
Yes.
was the original like title challenger until he had to pull out. So there's like it would be cool if they pull in Carlos Parras or Michael Morales, though. Like, as you mentioned, what Dana White said, but I think Michael Morales was also like ranked number like 6 or like he wasn't even in the top 5. So that'd be just crazy, like to see those two jump so many people for a straight to a title shot. So
Yeah.
that's why I think they would be a good matchup with each other for title elimination, and then during that time let Islam fight the winner, like either Ian Gary, Bilal, or Shafkat, like one of those 3 guys.
Yeah, I agree actually. Thinking about it, if Sean Brady would have won, I could justify maybe him getting a title shot. But I do think maybe Dana spoke a little too quick because yeah, Michael Morales, I think he's moving up for sure, but I'm not sure. Like you said, there's no way he was ranked as a top 5 fighter going into that fight. So that said, you might be right? Does he really deserve a title shot right away? I'm not sure he does, and I'm really also not sure that he stands a chance against Islam, Michael Morales. That is, there's just I don't know, man. I
Yeah,
would say,
Islam looked really good. Like he looked big too for 170, which is
dude.
nuts.
And I was talking to Charlie. People were like, people being like the bots online, basically. If you subscribe in the dead internet theory, you'll relate. But I feel like mostly everything you see on like most of like Twitter and social media is just like bots and like fake things, AI and whatnot. But I couldn't tell you how many posts I saw on Friday in the weigh-ins about how like Islam looked terrible, and they were like posting a side by side of what he looked like at 155 and what he looked like at 170. They're like, "Oh, look, he doesn't even look bigger. He's in horrible shape." Like, and then they showed Jack Madalena like flexing like this on the scale, and like his chest looked bigger, and they were like, "Oh yeah, see this dude's jacked. He's way more bigger than Islam. He's gonna dominate him." And it's like I know that's not the public sentiment because Islam, like that fight closed with Islam as like a minus 300 favorite. So like the public knew Islam was still gonna win, but it's just interesting. Like, do these people really think like Islam's not gonna be about 180, 185 going into that fight easily? And he's probably feeling the best he ever has. Like he's feeling like Colby Covington, like having a steak a couple nights before the fight, like not even caring, just eating whatever.
That's like yeah, that's like the scariest. Like if he's not worried about the weight cut, he could he's gonna come in fully replenished and strong, and then Islam is just a thick dude. Like you can just tell right away how thick he looks. So kind of
Yeah.
like Bilal too. So um Yeah, I think he's gonna be dominant. I mean, the welterweight division right now is probably the most exciting. I think it's the most
It
exciting
is.
division now in the UFC.
I was gonna say the same. It is. I think I agree. Like it used to be lightweight, but we see guys like the real classic like Gaeth G's and Poirier's getting old and retiring. I don't think it's lightweight anymore. Conor McGregor's gone. Most of those real exciting guys. Um, yeah. Light heavyweight maybe. No, it's welterweight. It's definitely welterweight. But yeah, moving on to the fights for this Saturday. We're doing UFC Cutter, and for anyone new, we do our picks here in a five-weight system in which we pick five of the currently scheduled 14 fights for UFC Cutter, and we weigh those picks in order of confidence, with five-weight being the most confident, one-weight being the least confident. We make these picks separately and then confer just before the show to know what order we go in, because we always start with the locks of the week, aka the five-weight, the heaviest weight picks first. So that said, without further ado, my five weight for this Saturday. I'm going back to back last week. As we just recapped, I got a five weight on Islam this week. I'm taking a five weight on Tsarukyan. I'm going back to back with the main event five weight, excuse me, back to back week five weight picks. Arman Tsarukyan over Dan Hooker. Arman Tsarukyan's a huge favorite. He's looking at minus 480. I knew he was a big favorite, but I forgot it was that minus 480. Dan Hooker plus 330. That's an insane odds difference there. Tsarukyan wasn't able to fight. I think he had that suspension or whatever because he like punched a fan in his walk in to the Oliveira fight. So he didn't actually get his title chance yet, and ended up now. So much has happened since then that he's fighting Dan Hooker, who's on a 3-fight win streak of his own, and part of it split decision win against Gamrot, who was basically the next title like contender up in line besides Tsarukyan at lightweight. So Dan Hooker kind of coming out of the woods basically from nowhere, and he really did look good against Gamrot. Honestly, Gamrot's only chance in that fight was wrestling. Dan Hooker's so good on the feet, but for Arman Tsarukyan, it's interesting because Arman Tsarukyan, I remember back in 2022, I picked Gamrot to beat Tsarukyan, and Gamrot ended up doing it via unanimous, and a lot of people disagreed with it. But I was one of the folks that said I think Gamrot can do this. And now looking down the line, I'm actually going to be taking Tsarukyan to beat a guy who beat Gamrot, and I think Tsarukyan is an evolved fighter. So is Gamrot to his credit, but Tsarukyan is evolving as he goes, and even since his suspension, you can check, and he's done a few grappling matches against like Benson Henderson, Patrick, the brother, or whatever, of Patricio Pitbull. But either way, it's maybe not like insane, like it's just grappling fights, but he's winning them. He's choking these dudes out, and it's just cool to see. First of all, but the dude's always working, and those are dudes who have like super good credibility on the ground. So I just like to see that Tsarukyan's like evolving his game. He's not just kind of boxing and wrestling and not going for submissions or learning jiu-jitsu or trying to improve his game. He beat Charles Oliveira, and honestly, we could all agree that Charles Oliveira probably beats Dan Hooker too. So, in my opinion, it's a little bit of MMA math, which I hate doing. So, I still feel like it's not all MMA math. It's just partially. Tsarukyan, way better striker than Gamrot as well. So, for those reasons, I like Tsarukyan's ability. He's definitely the better fighter here. I'm taking him confidently as my five weight, but of course, as far as betting on him, it's going to be a little hard to make money. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, you know what? This one I'm gonna agree with you all the way to the T. I got Arman Tsarukyan as my five weight as well. I think he just overall is the more dominant. He will be the more dominant fighter. I think he's going to come in with better grappling against Dan Hooker, and I mean just the four weight, like both of these guys are going on win streaks. Arman having a 4-fight win streak and Dan Hooker a 3-fight win streak. But we've seen very impressive on Dan Hooker, but we've seen Dan Hooker get clipped many times. And it's like, for example, when he fought Arnold Allen, he got clipped really bad. Like, when it comes to the fight and engaging in the heat of battle or in the middle, he's willing to go blow for blow. But if he gets clicked, he'll get, he gets shocked and stunned a bit. And it depends if the opponent throws faster punches. Like, him and Dustin Poirier went blow to blow in that legendary fight. And then he goes on and he gets finished by Michael Chandler. He did fight Islam before Islam was champion and got submitted right away. And Armin has, and I think that's ultimately where Armin's going to just prove his dominance is going to be the grappling. And I think he may even be able to submit Dan Hooker himself. Out of the 22 wins Armin has, he does have 5 by submission. And the thing about Armin is he's a very good, well-rounded fighter. He's got 5 submissions, 8 decision wins, and 9 KO/TKOs. And so is Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is a very well-rounded fighter as well. But I just think when it comes specifically to the grappling, you can't deny Armin Tsarukyan. We've seen Armin literally go toe-to-toe with Islam when, early on in his UFC. Like, literally his UFC debut was going toe-to-toe with Islam and made it all the way to the end of the 3rd round. He lost unanimously, but during that fight, he showed some really good wrestling as well, at least on the defensive side. But throughout it, he's had good grappling. So I think this one, Armin's going to be just an overall dominant fighter, and he's going to beat Dan Hooker. And even then, Armin's also, like, Dan Hooker, his best strength is obviously his kickboxing, but Armin's got great stand-up game as well. So I think he's going to be good on the feet. And then so then the next thing is he's going to close in and go for the grappling. I think that's where he's going to dominate. So this one, I feel really good about Armin Tsarukyan. Not much more for me to say about this. I have him as my 5 weight as well.
So that's the guaranteed lock of the week then. 10 weight full on Tsarukyan. And like we both kind of said, it's going to be hard to find good value in the betting screen. But look, this is a fight that Armin really should win, and it should cement him as basically next in line for Ilya. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I think either of these guys should be next in line for Ilya, should they win the fight. But that said, let's move on to Jose's 5 weight.
So
4 weight, sorry.
for my so for my 4 weight, this is going to be the welterweight bout between Jack Hermansson and Mabek Orabai. Actually, Nick, can you, if you can, when you're up, if you can pull up the odds? I actually do not have the odds with me. Right now, I can't pull them up. But
yeah.
I believe Jack Hermansson is the underdog. And he's coming down in weight from middleweight. And that being said, like, I'm still riding with him as my 4 weight. Thing is he's a phenomenal wrestler, and he's going to be the bigger guy in this matchup against Orabai. And I think he's just going to, even though he's cutting weight, I think on fight night, Jack Hermansson is just going to be stronger. And he's going to be bigger, but definitely he's going to be stronger. And we've seen him, he's been a win-loss. And when he goes against other good, strong wrestlers, he's actually done fairly well, except for Marvin Vittori. But he's been on a good, he's able to beat Kevin Gastelum, Edmund Shabazian, Chris Curtis, Joe Pyfer. So he's really smart when it comes to the fighting. Like, he's dealt with all sorts of dudes, good grapplers. He's dealt with dudes with heavy hitter with power punches, good kickboxers. And Orabai, what he brings is he's a good grappler. He's a good grappler that's just willing to go blow to blow with you. He just doesn't care if you hit him. He's just a tough guy to put down. In all honesty, he's just a tough guy to put down. His striking, I don't think, is as good as Jack Hermansson's, to be honest. And I think Jack Hermansson is just ultimately going to piece him up a little more on the feet. Jack Hermansson, though, does obviously not have a chin anymore. He was knocked out most recently in the 1st round by RoboCop. And then shortly before that, the fight, he beat Joe Pyfer unanimously. And then before that, he was knocked down the 2nd round by TKO'd, I should say, by Roman Dolidze. So as of lately, he's not had a chin. And Orabai, like I said, he's willing to just slug it out with you and just be a tough guy. Like, I know he's just going to be fighting back nonstop, as we saw that fight with Rybicki as well. Like, he just went toe to toe and ended up going split decision. He took a split decision loss, but he got beaten up really bad in that fight too, and he just kept coming like a zombie. So I think that's the way he's going to come at Jack Hermansson. But I think Jack Hermansson will have an easier time controlling him and keeping him at bay just due to the size difference. So this one, I'm going with Jack Hermansson. Both guys are finishers, but I can't say this. Orabai's has only won twice by decision. In the 24 wins that Jack Hermansson has, he's only gone to decision 7 times. So I do think this fight's going to end early. The way Jack Hermanson does it, it's hard for me to say. Orbai's never been submitted before, or knocked out before. So um, I don't even know what method of the fight this will go, but like how Jack Hermanson will win. But I do think he'll most likely dominate this. And the big one too is just the experience, not only his size, but just the experience he has. So that being said, that's why I have Jack Hermanson so high up as a four-weight for myself. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
We'll agree. I take Hermanson, but I'm a little less confident weight wise. He's my two weight. And I can say, you're questioning how you think the method might end up being. I would definitely say decision for Jack Hermanson, should my pick be correct. I think Jack Hermanson overall has shown through experience and just time in the UFC that he can be able to stand and contend with dudes who have a lot more power than Oral By. And looking at statistically too, after all these times that Hermanson's been kind of outperformed, outstruck, he still has a five strikes landed and just over a 3.5 strikes absorbed ratio. So, 2.5 more strikes landed than absorbed, and he's bringing all this experience down a weight class. I think for me, I'm mainly only concerned about his weight cut at 37 years old. Hermanson's definitely not getting any younger, so if he doesn't kind of basically figure it out and have a good weight cut at that age, I'm if he doesn't do that, I'm concerned. But if he does, I'm very confident he wins the fight. So that's why it's kind of like for me, kind of in the middle at two weight, because it's like, and once in one sense, I think he can for sure win, but in the other, I don't know. It's not Friday yet. Ask me Saturday, kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to see how they come in when they weigh in. I want to see how they look like on the scale after they weigh in and kind of line up against each other when they square
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I'm looking at right now is Jack Hermanson. He is a plus 186 underdog, and Orbai's a big favorite at minus 245. So I like Hermanson as an underdog in this.
Oh yeah, thanks. Dude, I have it up. I just forgot to mention it. But yes, that's exactly what I have in Hermanson. Being a good plus 186 dog, I mean, doing it right now, you're taking a little bit of a risk on the weight cut. But if I were you, I would wait. And if you could get it on Friday, like right as the weight cut's happening, and you see him on the scale and he looks decent, he doesn't look like he's dead, then boom, make the bet.
100.
So that said, that's Jose's four weight, my two weight, combined six weight on Jack Hermanson the dog. Let's go on to my four weight. I'm going to be opening the main event here with this four weight. This is somewhat of a prospect versus somewhat of a seasoned veteran. But when I say prospect, I'm talking about a guy who's only 30 years old or 31, I think now. Already 25 professional MMA fights against Alex Perez, who's got an insane like 34 professional fights, and he's 33. So neither of these dudes are necessarily old, but tons of MMA experience to go around. I'm taking as my four weight Asu Amabayev to win this fight. Asu Amabayev is, I believe, a pretty heavy favorite. Let me double check. He's minus 230. Alex Perez plus 176. So I will say Perez getting a rightful, he's getting rightful money there. I don't think it should be much higher than what it currently is odds wise, because Alex Perez has shown that he still has gas in the tank. He might have taken a bunch of losses recently, but looking at it, it's against like Figueiredo, who's a dog, Pantoja, who's the champ, Mokaev, who's a prospect. He beats Nicolau, which is a guy he probably should beat if he's a higher tier fighter, and loses to another prospect, Tyra. So it's almost kind of like Alex Perez is a high-level gatekeeper, basically. And I think Amabayev passes the test. Amabayev's looked really good and only been stopped at this point by Benel Kopp, who's another guy that's basically in line to challenge for the belt. I think Amabayev's going to be there in short time for his chance at the belt. But for right now, he's going to need to get through Alex Perez. I think he does it, but Alex Perez is really stingy. He's a great fighter, so by no means am I extremely confident. And if I'm Almabayev, I'm looking to win this by decision. It's going to be hard to finish Perez, but if he does, it would be on the ground via submission, if you ask me. But in general, I like Almabayev, and I like the fact that he's in a good spot. I think style-wise is what I'm trying to say against Perez. I think their styles match up well. So what do you think, Jose?
Yeah, so Nick, for this one, I do not actually have a wait for it. But I like also Almabayev as well. He looked really good in his last fight against Ochoa, and Alex Perez a dog, but just his last few fights have not been going his way. That he does have that win over Matus Nicolau, but Matus Nicolau too is on his own 3-fight losing streak, but to killers like Osman Mabayev and Brandon Royval. This one, Alex Perez, like I think Osman Mabayev is like the real deal, and this is just another guy like almost in his path just to kind of cement like him becoming a title challenger. So that being said, not much more for me to say on this fight. I don't have a weight on it, but I do like the also Mabayev pick.
All right. 4 weight on Asu Amabayev total. And we're looking at 2 favorite picks so far, 1 underdog. And that'll still leave then. We'll go into Jose's 3-weight.
So for my 3-weight, this is actually the co-main event, and it's another welterweight bout. It's the match between former champ Bilal Muhammad and Ian Machado Gary. Right now, Bilal Muhammad, he is the betting underdog at plus 210, while Ian Gary is a betting favorite at minus 280. I'm going to be honest, for this one, sorry, my camera's like all over the place right now. I'm going to be honest, for this one, I'm surprised Bilal Muhammad is the underdog. That there'd be more respect to his name, and I'm just surprised at how big of a favorite Ian Gary is. But that being said, I'm going with the underdog on this one. Back-to-back underdogs for me. I'm going with Bilal Muhammad. Reason is that he's looked nothing but good. Even his loss to JDM, like he put up a good fight. Still, he kind of showed up later in the second half of that fight, but still, like he's shown we know he's got good wrestling, and he's shown to have improved boxing and kickboxing. The only thing I can see this fight going is actually similar to that Sean Brady and Michael Morales fight, because after this weekend, with Carlos Pradas winning the way he won, and knowing how Ian Gary beat Carlos Pradas, and like as a unanimous decision, and especially as a last minute replacement for him, like you just see how good Ian Gary really is. And then you look at how Michael Morales finished Sean Brady. Sean Brady, a phenomenal wrestler and has good boxing. And then Michael Morales used his height and reach advantage, that 7-inch reach advantage, to keep Sean Brady at bay and was able to piece him up and ultimately finish him. That's my only worry that Ian Gary may do to Bilal Muhammad, is that he may use his height and reach advantage to keep Bilal Muhammad at bay and just piece him up every round. Because that's ultimately what JDM did too. JDM has good takedown defense, except against Islam, but he was able to go toe to toe for an extended period amount of time with Bilal and ultimately pieced him up on the feet. Ian Gary has phenomenal kickboxing, so I know what I'm saying may sound like I'm favoring Ian Gary, but I'm saying like I'm not forgetting the name, like I'm not forgetting who he is. I know Bilal Muhammad is better than that, like than what his last performance was. He's gone against these tall, lengthier, good kickboxers as well. And then like before that was Leon Edwards, and we just saw Leon Edwards get put out to sleep this past weekend. But still, Bilal Muhammad has shown that he has good wrestling, and he can go toe to toe with phenomenal boxers and kickboxers. And I think in this one, he's going to win it. But I think I don't think he's going to be able to finish Ian Gary whatsoever or submit him. Like, if he wants to look dominant, then yes, I think the only way for him to win dominantly is he has to finish him almost by submission. But Ian Gary's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu as well. I think it's ultimately going to be Bilal Muhammad winning this and just making it dirty and just keeping Ian Gary down. Kind of like what Ian Gary did to Michael Venom Page, is just out wrestle and hold him down pretty much and just control time. It won't be a fun fight, but that's kind of what Bilal Muhammad is known for, is not having the most fun fights. That JDM fight was one of the more fun fights that he's had in a while. But I guarantee you, it's going to probably come down mostly down to decision, and it's going to be whoever has the more control time. And I think in this one, it's going to be Bilal Muhammad. I think he's just going to hold Ian Gary down and just ground and pound him throughout the entire fight. That's ultimately what I think. He is the underdog in this one. And I did just want to mention, like, if it doesn't go his way, I can see why, because how Ian Gary just utilizing his stand up and his reach advantage, similar to like Michael Morales and Sean Brady. So that being said, I'm going with Bilal Muhammad. He is my 3-weight. I think he's ultimately just going to win this by decision. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I'm here with you. I am going to flip though live. My 3 and my 1-weight. Flipping them right here, right now. I am picking Bilal as well. I'm remembering the name, but I am switching him down to my 1-weight. I am just impressed with what Ian Gary's been able to do. But I still think Bilal wins this fight for the exact reasons you mentioned. That I think he can keep it dirty. I think if he needs, he can play the boring game. And it's just going to take a little bit of beating up maybe to get there. But in general, the judges will favor a guy who can control the fight if he's on top of Gary for 3 or 4 minutes in the round. So for sure, it would have to be Bilal by decision, I'm pretty sure. That it would just be like a boring, it's only a 15-minute fight, boom, bada bing kind of thing. But Ian Gary, like, it's hard to deny that he's just kind of been able to change in general. Like, even with Shavkat, that was a good fight. Like, Shavkat only won that 48-47. Like, Ian was very close. Ian won a round and every judge's scoreboard, at least. So, that fight, at least one round, actually 2 rounds. But either way, neither here nor there. Ian Gary, my point is that he's been able to kind of dictate fights and kind of do what he wants. He kept Carlos Prates at distance, and nobody's been able to do that in the UFC, not even Leon Edwards. And he kept Michael Page at distance too. And Michael Page is a little bit of a different story, but either way, I like Bilal here. He's got the championship pedigree, but it was Leon Edwards, which looks kind of bad nowadays. But either way, I'm confident Bilal should be able to get the job done. At least confident enough to make him my 1-weight. I like the value.
Yeah, no, not a bad call moving down to your 1-weight. Like as I was talking a lot about Ian Gary, I'm like, yeah, maybe I could switch him around too with my 1-weight, or bump up down at least to 2. But I'm gonna ride with Bilal Muhammad. I like him as an underdog as well. There's a lot of value with him as being an underdog. He's still, again, like he's just 1 loss, like on his record as of recently, and it's the JDM. So that being said, this is one we both agree on. We both feel similar. I just have Bilal Muhammad as my 3-weight, and he is your 1-weight.
Yes, sir. With that said, I got one more pick for you guys. I think Jose still has 2. So I'll go here, and then Jose will go next. This is my last weight to announce, though. And this is the guy I switched into my 3-weight, of course. So my 3-weight is now going to be Volcano Zedmir to beat Alonzo Menifield. Volcano Zedmir currently minus 250. Alonzo Menifield plus 190. Fight in the light heavyweight division that has a chance to have some fireworks. And I think Alonzo Menifield is honestly due to get finished. So if you ask me, I would actually specifically say Volcano Zedmir by KO, by finish in this fight. Alonzo Menifield's 38 years old, and he's been finished a couple of times, twice in his last 4 fights, by Carlos Ulberg and Azamat Mirzakhanov, and then he beats Julius Walker and Omar Sy. I'm not too impressed by that, and it's both by decision, one of them being split. Volcano Zedmir is definitely a little older, but he's only 36, so he still has age advantage over Alonzo Menifield. A little bit of a size advantage, and no doubt about it, a power advantage. Ozedmir's a dog. He's got 13 KO wins of his 20 professional MMA wins, and he's going to mark up Alonzo Menifield with another one, make that 14. So specifically, Volcano Zedmir by KO. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I 100% agree with you on this one. I actually have Volkan Ozdemir as my 1-weight, and pretty much all the same reasons as you mentioned as well. Volkan Ozdemir, he's a tough dude, and he only loses to really good dudes. When you look at like Carl Solberg, then you got Nikita Krylov, Magomed Ankalaev, Yuri Prochazka, Dominic Reyes, and this is Dominic Reyes back when he was more in his prime. Anthony Smith too, around the time he fought John Jones, and Daniel Cormier. Like Volkan Ozdemir actually fought Daniel Cormier for the belt at one point. And then since then, he's just his career has been a roller coaster of a ride. And yeah, he does have age going against him now, but as you mentioned, he is still the younger one in this matchup, and he's still got phenomenal stand-up game. He doesn't have the best grappling. Out of his 20 wins, he's only got 2 submissions. I don't really expect Volkan Ozdemir to ever go for a takedown, really. And Alonzo Menenfield, he's also more of a stand-up guy. Out of the 17 wins, he's got 10 KOs/TKOs. He does have 3 submissions. Alonzo Menenfield, though, he is more like a bulldozer. I think like he's going to be more the one to press forward and rush. But I think Volkan Ozdemir has smart Dutch style kickboxing, like on the feet. Like he's just so smart, and the way he thinks. I don't think Alonzo Menenfield is going to offer the same type of offense that like Yuri Prochaska, Nikita Krylov, Dominic Reyes, like those type of guys that like how they're offensive with their stand-up game. I don't think Alonzo Menenfield is really going to offer the same one. Like he doesn't set up high-level combinations like they do. He's more of a power puncher, and I think Volkan Ozdemir is going to be able to predict his punches a little more. So I would see Volkan Ozdemir being able to finish Alonzo Menenfield. So that being said, I got Volkan Ozdemir as my one way. The only reason he's my one way again is because Alonzo Menenfield, he is on a tear right now, 2 back-to-back wins, and he's got power behind his back, but behind his hands, but he hasn't actually finished or knocked out anyone in a minute since 2022. So that being said, I think Volkan Ozdemir is just going to have really good defense and be able to just capitalize of the slowness of Alonzo Menenfield and be able to put him out. So I agree with you on this one, Volkan Ozdemir. He is my one weight.
Sounds good, dude. Yeah, man, I love that we agree there. And I love being a little more specific when possible. And the fact that I think he's going to get the KO finish specifically. So that said, Jose's got one more pick for us tonight.
Yeah, so for my last pick, this is my 2-weight. This is actually the heavyweight bout. The big boys, the heavyweight bout between Sergey Spivak and Shamil Gaziev. And right now, Spivak, he is the betting underdog at plus 124, while Gaziev he's the betting favorite at minus 160. I look like I'm kind of like a theme for me tonight. Is I'm going with a lot of the underdogs. This one I'm going with Sergey Spivak. He's not had the the last few fights has not gone his way. He lost to Tsarukyan. He beats Meister Tybura, and then he loses to Joel Almeida and WCA. And those guys are legit deal. Like the legit. They're not. They're dogs. They're like legit dogs. Joel Almeida is still. Like dogs. Like Joel Almeida is still kind of lingering there. Like he's the type of guy that'll give a title shot when they run out of all when everyone else they run out of all else contenders. Yeah. Cyril Gahn, we know he's pretty much just solidified himself as
striker.
Yes. And then WCA himself, he just came off a win, and he's pretty much he's beating almost everyone in his path in the UFC besides DeLima and Sergey. So he's shown some diversity in his striking. But that being said, Sergey, I think what he's going to utilize the most in this matchup is going to have to be his wrestling. Shamil, he's a good striker. He's a very good striker. He's got power behind his hands as well. For a heavyweight, honestly, I would say he's got phenomenal striking, like some of the best striking after Cyril Gahn in this division. Like with its actual like a big guy utilizing his reach and having like actual good technical boxing and leg kicks, and which we haven't seen in a moment. Another guy that used to have something similar like that was Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And of course, having those skills doesn't mean you're good, or else Jairzinho Rozenstruik would still be in the UFC. So that being said, I think he's going to offer a good offense to Sergey, but I think Sergey is going to be good enough to close in on him and take him down and ultimately try just to ground and pound him, win by control, or try to get a submission win. Being the heavyweight division, I think it's safe to say this fight's I honestly think it's safe to say it's not going to go to decision. So I take Sergey winning by decision back. Sergey's either going to win by TKO, KO, or submission, because both guys have only won by decision twice in their careers, and Shamil's never lost by decision, and Sergey has only lost twice by decision. So this fight, being the big boys, is going to end early, and I'm just ultimately going with Sergey. I think Sergey, he does have losses on his record, But these are the dudes like again who I mentioned. Not to mention before that was a younger Tom Aspinall. And then even before that, when he was younger, he also lost to Mason Tybura. So he was able to kind of overcome that loss he had at one point and get it back against Mason Tybura. He did it in phenomenal fashion by getting that first round submission. So, and Mason Tybura too, he's a good striker. He's older too. He's 40. So I feel like not as good as Shamil, I think, in terms of when it comes to the striking department. But that's why I think Sergey is probably going to do something similar, where he's probably going to try to make it. And this fight won't go to decision, and he's probably going to ultimately look for whatever comes his way when he takes the fight to the ground, which I think will be he's going to aim for a submission. But if he can't, because Shamil's never been submitted before, yeah, I think he's just going to be looking for that control time and ground and pound. So this one, I got Sergey Spivak as my two-weight. He's a low ranking just because Shamil is the real deal. He's a good striker, and it's heavyweight. So yeah, obviously, this division, it's it's less likely to go to the final round. So anything can happen. I got Sergey Spivak as my two-weight. I know you have all your weights down, but do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Man, well, I do because I looked at picking this fight, but I ended up leaving it off the boards. I would agree if I was to pick a fighter for sure, I'd take Spivak as well. And I do think you're right. He does kind of need to use his wrestling to his advantage in this fight. I think Shamil is a good boxer, and it really, as every heavyweight is, it's kind of a knockout chance. And that's one of the main reasons I left it off my board. Is it's a heavyweight fight, and you never know. Shamil could definitely knock Spivak with a shot, and Spivak's been finished 4 times on the feet, so that doesn't include the times he lost by decision to some good fighters for sure. But in the end, Shamil always stands that chance to get a finishing blow on Spivak. But in general, I think Sergey's the better fighter. He's obviously more of the prospect as well. The guy who's theoretically improving more as each fight comes by. So I'd agree on Spivak as the pick. I just didn't have enough confidence.
Sounds good. Yes. So yeah, this one you have no pick, but yeah, like no wait, but you do like the Sergey Spivak pick, and he's obviously my two-weight, an underdog in this one. So yeah, let me say that that's all our rankings in that. Yeah, I got it looks like this week I went with a heavy load of the underdogs this week, at least on my end.
Nice. Well, sounds good. Appreciate everybody for coming by for this show again. We won't have any fights next weekend, and there's only 2 more cards after this Saturday for the year. So enjoy your Thanksgiving weekends and all of that, as we will not be back again until, well, to be honest, I guess we might have to alter our schedule a little bit because it looks like the next Monday ahead of our fights is going to be like the first day of a month, which is usually tough for us to make. So we'll figure out a day that week, though, to get the show rolling, because that'll be a pay-per-view week for sure. So we'll want to get some picks in. But either way, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.